Here are three of the most common retirement rules in India: 25 times your annual expenses, 30 times your annual expenses, or a range 15 to 30 times. Same person, same spending, three different answers. And every one of them is quoting you a price in today's rupees for a bill you will pay in 30 years. So let us build the number properly instead. Your spending, your timeline, every assumption on screen where you can argue with it. By the end, you will have a figure you can actually check, and a monthly amount that gets you there. Start with the rules themselves, because they disagree with each other far more than anyone admits. Take someone spending 50,000 rupees a month today. That is 6 lakh a year. That annual figure, not your salary, is the input every one of these rules actually uses. 25 times gives 1.5 crore. 30 times gives 1 crore 80. A 3% withdrawal rate gives 2 crore. That is a 50 lakh spread on identical facts. The 25 times rule comes from a study by William Bengen in 1994. He tested American market history and found 4% was the highest rate that never ran out over 30 years. It is a good study. It is also not about India. And here is the flaw none of the three state out loud. Every one of those answers is in today's rupees. If you are retiring today, fine. If you are retiring in 30 years, you have just been handed the wrong number. Before the timeline, the input. And almost everyone gets the input wrong on the first try. Your retirement number is built from what you spend, not what you earn. Two people on the same salary, one spending half of it and one spending all of it, need completely different corpuses. The saver needs a smaller one and will get there sooner. Some of today's spending will not follow you. The commute goes. The home loan should be finished. The children should be independent. And the money you are putting away every month is money you stop needing to put away. Other things go up: healthcare, obviously, help around the house, and time, because a retired day has more hours in it that cost money than a working day does. So take what you spend now, remove what genuinely ends, add what genuinely starts, and use that. If you have never tracked it, use your current spending unchanged. It is the honest starting point, and it errs on the safe side. Now, the part the rules of thumb quietly skip, and it is the part that changes everything. Indian inflation was 4.5% in July. Over the last 5 years, it averaged closer to 5. We will use 4.5, and it is on screen so you can raise it if you want to be careful. At that rate, over 30 years, prices multiply by nearly 3.7. Not 3.7%, 3.7 times. So the 6 lakh a year you spend today becomes 22 lakh a year by the time you are 60. Same life, same groceries, same everything, just later. This is why a crore sounds like a finish line and is not one. We did the arithmetic on that in a short, and a crore 30 years out buys what about 27 lakh buys today. Which brings us to the number that does the most damage when you import it without checking. 4% was measured on American inflation of about 2 to 3%. Indian inflation has structurally run higher, and Indian equity is more volatile, which drags the compounded return below the average return. Indian studies land between 2.5% and 3.5% instead, and the difference is not academic. At a 3% withdrawal, the money lasted the full 30 years in about 97% of tested cases. At 4%, 78. That is 22 failures in 100, and you only get one attempt. 3% means roughly 33 times your expenses, not 25. On 22 lakh a year, that is just under 7.5 crore. 7.5 crore assumes the money has to last a certain number of years. So how many is honest? someone reaching 60 in India can expect roughly 18 more years on average, so the average person is planning to 78. But average is a strange thing to plan to because half of everyone lives longer than it. Women reaching 60 in Kerala and Himachal can expect 22 to 23 more years. Planning to the average means running out of money in roughly half of the futures where you are still alive to notice. So plan to 90. That is 30 years of retirement, which is exactly what the withdrawal studies tested. And the order of returns matters more than the average. A bad first 5 years, while you are withdrawing, does damage the later good years cannot undo. Which is why the first 5 years should not be all equity. Before the things that break it, the question everyone asks next: where does 7.5 crore actually live? One option is a guaranteed pension. You hand the corpus to an insurer at 60 and they pay you a fixed amount every month for life. Today, that is about 6.5% if you want the money returned to your family afterwards. The catch is the word fixed. That payment never rises, so 20 years in, at the inflation we already assumed, it buys you less than half of what it bought on the first day. The other option is to keep it invested and take 3% a year. That can grow with inflation instead of losing to it. It can also fall in a bad year, which is the sequence problem again. So most planners split it, cover the essentials with something guaranteed, keep the rest invested for the growth. Where exactly you draw that line stops being arithmetic and starts being your own nerve, which is where this video stops telling you what to do. So that is the number. Now the 3 things that break it and the 1 lever that fixes it. Healthcare inflation runs at roughly 3 times general inflation. We showed in an earlier short that an 8 lakh claim today becomes nearly 25 lakh in 10 years. Your health cover has to grow, not just your corpus. Here is the lever. To reach 7.5 crore in 30 years, at 12% a year, you need about 21,000 a month. Start 10 years later, and the same target needs nearly 74,000. That gap is the whole video, not the 7.5 crore, which is an estimate and will move. The gap between starting now and starting later, which is the only part fully under your control. Run your own spending through it. Change the inflation number, change the withdrawal rate. Be more careful than us if you like. Just do not use a rule that was measured in another country and quoted in today's money. Subscribe and check our arithmetic.